All right, we are hanging out with Mr. Ben Ark today, who's going to give us a high-level quick pitch about LNBits. Ben, welcome. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, Muzz. So I've been told I need to make this quite quick, which I always find hard because I like to babble on, and I get very excited about LNBits because it's a very exciting project. A little bit of history on the LNBits project. It originally started out as a maker project just from the community of builders and people actually making things in Bitcoin. And we had this great new tool, Lightning Network, and it was like, what can we build with this thing? And then, so LNBits was something we could all work on and then all use for our projects. At its core, a wallet account system. And then the idea was to have extensions and then extend in any direction which was relevant to you. And then it had this API which you could build on top of. And it had this ability that we could swap out any funding source or any Lightning node or custodial funding source underneath. So it became a very useful piece of software for building on top of. And then just offering like a custodial service to your local community when you're trying to onboard people onto Bitcoin. And then when El Salvador started accepting Bitcoin, Ibex the bank started using LNBits. And that for us was a huge wake up call that this thing was no longer a hobby project, whether we liked it or not. It was being used out in the wild, and we had to professionalize the software and bring it out of beta into production. So that's what we've been doing. And part of that process, it was important that we developed a company, a for profit arm, to try and make the whole thing sustainable and then generate some nice big revenues so the free and open source software will always be worked on and improved for all those people who are using it. So we're coming out of beta now. We've got our version 1 coming out in the next couple of weeks. And alongside that, over the past couple of years, we've been working on the company and getting all the incentives and all the feedback loops so this thing can generate revenue. So LNBits Inc. at its heart is a for-profit arm to complement the free and open source project. Now, the design of LNBits, the idea of having something simple, which is modular, and then you can extend in any direction which is relevant to you, that design was inspired by the WordPress model. You have something simple, a blogging engine, and then you add in plugins for whatever you want to use that website, whatever you want to create using WordPress. Similarly, another project which is similar is Odoo, which is an enterprise resource planner, and it's the same. It's modular. You add bits onto it, and then that extend it in the direction you want to extend it in. What that means is LNBits becomes relevant to practically every sector and industry. So as well as copying the kind of the software model and that modular approach, it also made sense to copy the for-profit model. So WordPress.com, Automatic, the company which owns it, is a $7.5 billion company, and Odoo.com is a $5 billion company, both very successful and generate good revenue. So LNBits.com, and they managed to have this great relationship with the free and open source part of the project, which is very important when it comes to trying to monetize a free and open source project, getting that dynamic. First, let's have a little look at LNBits FOSS. Successful project, 8,500 commits. We've been hardening for 5 years, and that's all real world feedback and development. Got 90 plus contributors, some of the best contributors in the Bitcoin space. And we're up to about 50 plus extensions, getting a couple submitted every month. And then we've got some statistics here for GitHub. And then it's what does the LNBits software, free and open source software, what does that solve? It's all about adoption. So not only can you run this thing for yourself and then have your own native wallet account system with all these cool extensions, it also makes it easy for you to run and then onboard your local community, cafes, bars, those sorts of things. And then also you can use it for friends, family, or you can open up to the whole world as a custodial platform. So it's very good at getting people access to the Bitcoin Lightning Network and their onboarding. And then as well as that, it's a hardened developer stack tool. So all that hardening, which we've done over the past 5 years, if you pull LNBits into your stack, you then bring that 5 years of hardening into it and the security suite and everything else we built into LNBits. So it's a really nice tool to bring into your stack when you're building a project or business or whatever. And then we have all these extensions for exploring these use cases and then sharing and more recently profiting from those ideas. So what makes WordPress and Odoo so successful is you can develop an extension for it, then you can sell it on the marketplace on Odoo. The company then takes 10% of that, as does WordPress. Or if they own the extension, obviously they take 100% of the money made from the extension. So we're just following that model. Paid extensions, software as a service, they're the two products we lead with. So we call it the world's most powerful suite of Bitcoin tools because it is. There's no other Bitcoin software package which has so much, because of its extensions, has so many things it can do. And then I've covered some of this already, so I won't go into this, but we have So powerful wallet account system at its core, 50 plus cutting edge extensions. Another note worth making is because it's such a great sandbox for developing ideas, we usually have the coolest new thing in Bitcoin. Someone just makes an extension for it and then we get it. So we invented like split payments. Nostr partly came out of LNBits. Yeah, Cashew originally was a LNBits extension. So we have a lot of stuff at the forefront of Bitcoin development. And then as well as that, obviously you have your money node tool for managing funds, users, security, that sort of stuff, which is very useful. And then we have all this great vertically integrated auxiliary software and hardware. So other stuff built on top of LNBits, such as, I don't know if you can see, but my ATM I've got behind me here and the POS and all these other great tools. So I've covered most of this here. Oh yeah, we also have a node manager. So if you're running on top of Core Lightning or LND, you can actually manage your node natively in LNBits, which is pretty cool. So moving away from the free and open source software project, the for-profit arm which supports it, LNBits Inc., is a Delaware C Corp. And then, as I said, we follow the WordPress Odoo model because they're highly profitable and that relationship works. It empowers developers in their community to earn money by selling extensions in their projects. So we have software as a service, allowing LNBits hosting. You can go to lnbits.com and spin up LNBits. We have an extension marketplace where you can create an extension and sell it. And then we have all the vertically integrated stuff. And one of those, a good example of that is the nostr.com services we offer. So part of the LNBits Inc. is nostr.com. LNBits Inc. owns nostr.com, and then we offer services on nostr.com, all built on top of the LNBits stack, which is very important. I'm sat in a shop right now because we do a lot of merchant stuff, and it's important that I am also a merchant to inform my design decisions. If people are using LNBits in their stack, we should also be using it in our stack, as we do with nostr.com services. So I mentioned before about the engineered feedback loops we've developed for the business and then also the project to just stimulate growth. So the more users we get, the more extension sales we get. The more that means more developers want to build an extension to share an idea, but then also now to be able to sell that idea and sell that extension. So we get more extensions submitted. Then more people want to try LNBits because they hear about all these great extensions. So they go to our software as a service and they spin up LNBits. Then we get more users, which gets more extension sales, which then the flywheel continues. And we have a couple of these flywheel feedback loops, which we've designed into LNBits and LNBits, the company, inspired by the kind of WordPress Odoo model. I've already talked about these comparable company analysis, but our 3-year target, recurring revenue target, is plus 12 million. That's in the deck. My 3-year recurring revenue target. I don't want LNBits to be a $80 million company or whatever this would be. I want LNBits to be a $1 billion company. And I think if Odoo can be a $5 billion company with its piece of shit software, I think if WordPress can be a $7.5 billion company, there's literally nothing stopping LNBits from becoming a $1 billion company. So how do we get there? I think for the first 3 years, we're going to have hosted SaaS. I think probably the thing we make most money on will be our nostr.com services, but the hosted software as a service for LNBits and then our vetted and paid extensions, that's going to be the driver, the products which really drive the company beyond that. So we have the different flavors of paid extensions, the ones which are submitted by the developers, which we take 10%, the ones we own. So this is in here because WordPress, for example, they own the WooCommerce extension, and that's a multi-million-dollar revenue stream for them, tens of millions of dollars a year. And then affiliate-based. The affiliate-based part is really exciting. So say if we have something like Bolts, for example, as an extension, which gives you the ability to loop out from Lightning to Liquid and Lightning to on-chain. It's a very useful tool. We then get an affiliate payment every time that's made. And then we can also run Bolts ourselves and get the fees from that transaction. What that means is that if somebody's, like everyone who installs LNBits then becomes a customer, because when they're looping out using Bolts, we're then getting a kickback. But if they've built something on top of LNBits, so we have some people who've built a service and they've got 10,000 users. Those 10,000 users also become customers because when they use that loop out service, we then get a cut of the fee. And there's a couple of ideas for affiliate-based extensions, which then extends our revenue potential beyond just people who install LNBits to their users as well. So it's pretty exciting. And then, we have also hardware. So we also have a shop where we sell some bits and bobs, and people tend to like that. And if you look at the Blockstream model, they do pretty well on their Jades. And we have like our hardware wallet, Nostr signing devices, ATMs, a whole bunch of fun gizmos, which we will also offer some more professional options in the future. So an auxiliary products example would be on nostr.com. This is us building on our LNBits stack, informing our development decisions. we sell Nostr identities and they do very well. So if I go over to nostr.com here, this is all built on LNBits. If I create a Nostr account, let's see if Muzz is available, shall we? Muzz, let's go. How much is Muzz? There we are. Oh, why did it try and make me log in then? I don't like that. Let me try that again. There we go. I think that was cached. So great news. Muzz at nostr.com is available and I'll get it for $50 a year. Now, that's a lot of money. I wouldn't personally pay that, but you'd be surprised how many people do pay that. When it comes to identities, people quite like this affix, the nostr.com affix. And if you search Nostr on Google, then nostr.com is the first place you go. So we're in a very privileged position to have this real estate and offer like a professional Nostr identity service, which I think other people also like, the fact that there's not many professional identity services out there, and nostr.com do a good job of it, and we're in a nice position to be able to do that. You can also get a free nostr.com identity if you want to, rather than have to pay this. But I was really quite impressed how many people are willing to pay for their Nostr identities. So beyond that, can I sign in? Have I got a username I could use? Yeah, okay. So this was a throwaway account I made, I think, just to test something. I have an identity for LNBits here, and I went for the free identity because I'm cheap. You can also use that identity on Nostr as an LN address. So then when you use that, you then get a wallet and you can access that wallet with LND Hub and manage the funds on there. And that's all built on LNBits. The next stage of this product would be to offer a secondary marketplace where people can buy and sell their nostr.com identities. So then you'll get them domain trolls coming in and trying to snap up some identities, buying and selling them on the marketplace. I don't know if anyone's seen fragment.com where people buy and sell Telegram handles, but they sometimes, quite often sell for $20,000 a piece. People like buying and selling identities. And I believe that Nostr will be at least as big as Telegram, if not bigger. So it certainly warrants that sort of service exists for nostr.com as well. So if you have a nostr.com identity, you have your wallets, you've got a shopping cart, and you've got your account settings, blah, blah, blah. We will add more features in here as time rolls on, and they'll all be built on LNBits, and then they'll all feedback revenue to LNBits. So that's a good example of an auxiliary service. It's not what we're leading with. We're leading with software as a service and paid extensions, but it's certainly something which could be very profitable. As well as that, this is Muzz's idea, so thank you very much, Muzz, was for us to sell paid relays on a $10 a month basic plan subscription. So you can spin up a relay on nostr.com and it costs you $10 a month. We can do that because we have the Nostr relay extension in LNBits, so it's not that hard for us to build. Our roadmap for the company this year, Q2, 3, 4, is a big user push. Now LNBits is coming out of beta to version 1. We can actually push this thing without feeling worried that people are going to lose money. So there'll be a big educational promotional push of the software as a service, and then also extension development, how to make money building stuff. And then next year will be an auxiliary services sprint, so working on the nostr.com stuff, developing our hardware like the ATM to make it a bit more. And then the second part of next year will be industry outreach. Oh yeah, so another example will be paid support. So we have a nice idea for a paid support marketplace, which again empowers the users of LNBits to be able to stack some sats by becoming like an affiliate who can offer paid support through our service, and then we just take a cut of it. Once we have those things in place, we'll be doing industry outreach to larger corporations and things to start using LNBits. And then 2027 will be consolidating all that recurring revenue, refining, sustaining, and growing the different revenue streams. When it comes to the team, it's me, CEO. I started LNBits, the free and open source software, along with Jeff and another developer called Enico. And then I started the company as well. And then our CTO is Vlad Stein. He's one of the Bitcoin JS core developers, very talented developer, very clever, very good at the crypto stuff. And we're really lucky to have him. I got Jeff here as a co-founder of the LNBits free and open source software because he is a primary advisor on the nostr.com stuff as well. So it's very important that we liaise with Jeff and make sure he's happy with everything we're doing on nostr.com. So although not a paid employee of the team, he's a very valuable part of the team, which we consult often. Mickey, she does finance and accounting. DNI, he's a senior engineer. I've got co-founder of Bolts here. So he worked on the Bolts project and then also developed the Bolts extension for LNBits. So he's got some real good kind of liquid insight. And yeah, we will hope to do a lot more of that in the future. Tal, an engineer, and then he's the leading extension curator. He keeps an eye on all the extensions. And then BC, head of products. So he helps us with the products. And then he also does all the shop stuff. and yeah, great developer as well. So our seed raise is we're raising just $1 million. That's all we need at a $10 million val cap, and it's a standard YC safe. We, with LNBits.com, with LNBits being a 5-year project and with everything it offers, this could be a $5 million raise, especially with the Nostr.com stuff included. But we don't need that. We need $1 million to, so for example, like our software as a service, it works, we built it, but we need a full-time DevOps person to keep an eye on the server and refine the product. We also need a salesperson, part-time salesperson, and then also a full-time product manager as well. With those extra hires and with the original team, that's all we need, basically. So we can pile through and then turn all of our products into high revenue generating products. We just need that capital to make the software as a service product as professional as it should be for a project like LNBits, and give people that really good experience where they just use that de facto. And then also with the other we do, such as the extension stuff, like we just need a little bit more time to focus on that, maybe make it easier to build extensions, maybe build an extension wizard, those sorts of things. So that's what we need the capital for. And that is it for my deck. If you have any inquiries, then feel free to reach out to Ben at lnbits.com. Go check out the website, the lnbits.com website. Also check out nostr.com. There's 4 videos on the front page here, which really just break down the 4 core parts of LNBits. Because LNBits was such a fast-moving project, these videos are already a little bit out of date. You can see here 40+ extensions. We've got another 10 extensions, which have been submitted to vetted since then. And I think that is probably it. I would probably, have I got time to do a little demo, Muzz, or should we not bother with that?
We're going to do an actual full interview here in a second, but let's do that in the full interview. All right, Ben, that was a great high-level overview of LNBits, and we'll talk to you soon.